Chairman Smith?
Yes, here.
Mrs. Black?
Here.
Mr. Connor?
Here.
Mr. Daugherty?
Here.
Mr. Groan?
Here.
Mrs. Haddon?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Keene?
Here.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Here.
Mr. Slater?
Here.
Ms. Thomas?
Here.
Superintendent Dr. Robertson?
Here.
Okay, before we, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda, we got several changes. So first, under item 8, board matters, subsection B1, proposed policy revision, second and final read is going to be removed. Does everyone see that? I'll repeat that again. Under board matters, which is section 8, B1, proposed policy revision, second and final read, we're removing that item. Okay? Now I go back to under section 2. We have several amendments here. Administrative business matters, section 7, item D1. Approval of fiscal year 26 budget. You have this in front of you. Our finance chair, Mr. Daugherty, has requested to amend the memo to include addition of version 3 budget details. Addition of 0.5 FTE to act as board secretary. Good so far? Addition of use of $3.5 million out of our fund balance to cover a $2,000 bonus for all of our employees that are not covered by the final state position approval. That's a mouthful. You may read that again?
Yes, please.
Okay. Addition of the use of $3.5 million out of our fund balance that will cover the $2,000 bonus for all employees not covered by the final state position approval. Okay?
Yeah, that's good. You would clarify that.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. King. Thank you.
So for the public's knowledge, the governor has made available $2,000 for student-facing instructors, teachers. Not all employees are student-facing. So to keep with the work that we've been doing over the last few years, to allow a equitable raise for all, we've got $3.5 million that we're putting toward this governor's money so that all can receive the $2,000.
Just so it's important to note that we did not make those choices. Gary's absolutely right. The governor's office, when they passed the law and they added in that section for teachers, they knew who they were, and that's part of the reason we've been waiting so long to pass this resolution is we were waiting for clarity of who those positions are so we could have a better understanding of the dollar amount needed to do what Gary mentioned, to make it equitable across the board. So I also want to say that this is all staff, so it does include clerical. So so that is why we waited so long, and that is what that number finally reflects, was numbers that we were given of who the money goes to.
You want to speak to this too? Go ahead.
Actually, I want to speak back to the half position as board secretary.
Okay.
It's my understanding that we're not having the board strategy position that's in the proposed org chart, but that the person who is going to fill that role is going to keep their current position And then we're adding the half position back. Is that right?
No, ma'am. It's very close. So we're adding half position to board secretary, which you'll see on the org chart where the normal board secretary is. There'll be a half position that this gets approved, we'll post and fill. Person stepping into that position will do the basically strategic projects like we have set up in operations and like we have set up on the teaching and learning side of the building. So it will serve as that same place. And it's the same place that the person was in before in terms of the org chart, but it will be in that kind of middle section where superintendent overseeing finance, chief strategy officer, and that whole line of
It'll be moved
positions.
down. That
Yes.
position will be moved down.
Yes. It'll be replaced by a .5 board secretary.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Also, one more. Addition of converting the associate superintendent to chief talent officer.
What? Say that again.
Addition of converting the associate superintendent to chief talent officer.
Who is that?
That's Dr. Brown.
Is that
I can speak to that.
to what?
Yeah, I can speak to that, Jackie. So Dr. Brown, Zach Brown, Chief of HR, had an opportunity, deservedly, to get a promotion, basically, Jackie. And he has really, as a sacrifice and willingness to do for the better good of where we are from a financial perspective, postpone that or delay it in an effort to do what's better for the good. So just a huge debt of gratitude to him and his willingness to sacrifice for the teachers and the staff in a very tough season. But that's essentially what it is.
Dr. Brown, I appreciate your servant leadership.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. All right, one more, and I think we'll have them all. Under Board Matters, Section 8, Item B1, we need to strike the proposed policy revision, second final read.
You
I may have
already did
already given you
Yeah,
that.
we already did.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, now, Miss Shirley, just double checking to make sure I hadn't missed anything here. Okay.
Tell me.
All right, so with those changes, I will entertain a motion
So
to
moved.
approve the agenda.
So moved.
Well, never mind. I had a question. I just wanted some clarification on that. School board secretary, that's already, it's gonna be combined again with another position?
Point of
We can
procedure.
address it when we get to
Oh,
on the
okay.
agenda.
Okay.
It's just approving the agenda.
Point of procedure, we need to go ahead, if we're going to discuss further, we need to get the motion in the second and then have discussion.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay,
Second?
okay?
Now,
Now, we will discuss that further when we get to the budget discussion. Yeah, everybody got that?
selected somebody.
Y'all got that?
Okay,
Did y'all hear me?
We did.
Okay.
roll call.
No, hold on, they didn't hear. So we get the discussion, right? So let's make sure this is clear. The question that was asked about the position, the .5 school board position, will be discussed when they present this final draft, final rough draft, whatever it is, of the spending plan coming up. So we'll get more information about that at that time.
Oh, okay.
Just wanted to make sure we were in the right process of procedure. Now, roll call.
Okay.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Daugherty?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon? Yes. Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Keene?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes. Mr. Tillett, are you here? Principal of my alma mater, Red Bank High School. Welcome.
Welcome. All right, I've gotten a lot of advice on what I do in these next few moments. I don't know who to believe, but I believe we're doing the pledge first. So if everybody could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and the second piece of advice was 30 minutes of meditation. So, yeah. All right, well, when I was asked to do this, I was humbled and honored, because this week, when I was thinking about what to kind of talk about, it's a special week, right? It's Teacher Appreciation Week. And what better, as I stand here and, talk with you all, to think for a moment about that impactful teacher. Oftentimes when I interview for staff and teachers and so on, I ask them to think about that teacher that made an impact on them. And then what were those qualities that kind of stood out? So think for a minute. This is anticipation time. So I'll be calling on you, Mr. Allen, in just a second here. So. Not really. I know you're stressing out right now. So, but a lot of times, the factors, the things the qualities that they brought forth that they would talk about were relational, right? There are things that connected with them. It's holding them accountable. It's loving them. It's pushing them. It's expecting more of them than what they felt like that maybe or they believe that in themselves that they could do. And so I think it's important as we think about this week, which again, an honor to just be here this week. Just all those folks that we have in our building that are just intentionally impacting students every day, in all their roles. And all it takes is a smile in the hallway, the knuckle bump, the high five, all those different things matter. And it's just an honor to get to serve at Hamilton County and be part of that every day. Appreciate you guys letting me work with kids. So thank you.
Thank you. So we have several exemplars of excellence this evening. So Dr. Robertson, I believe you're up first.
Chairman, we did the Student Leadership Council at the 4:30 meeting. So we're moving on to the George Kilgore Initiative, which Dr. Bagby will present for us.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for having me. It is my great pleasure to be here tonight to spotlight Hamilton County Schools' 3rd annual George Kilgore Initiative Award and recognize the amazing career and technical education students that have both shown a high level of initiative during the past 4 years while they have completed their career and technical education program of study, but will also continue that program of study into their post-secondary life. This award is a testament to the hard work, dedication, and commitment of those who strive for excellence in career and technical education. The George Kilgore Initiative Award is named after a great friend and teammate who dedicated his life to promoting career and technical education. A proud Soddy Daisy High School graduate, George Kilgore worked for Hamilton County Schools in career and technical education for 24 years. George has begun his career in education as a graphic arts teacher at Sequoia High School, where he served for 15 years. George then transitioned to the district office, working as a teacher on special assignment, reporting directly to the CTE director. In 2021, George was elevated to the title of Career and Technical Education Program Lead. Throughout his time with Hamilton County Schools, George placed success of Hamilton County CTE teachers and students at the forefront of every decision. He helped teachers ensure they were equipped with every resource they needed to be successful and advocate for every student's high school and career options. George served as an instrumental role to 4 CTE directors over his 9 years at the district level, each CTE director constantly commending him on his initiative to take action to get the work done. Without further ado, I am proud to introduce this year's recipient of the George Kilgore Initiative Award that has plans to continue their CTE journey after high school, Peggy Chen. Peggy Chen is a dental assistant student at Hickson High School. Along with being a fantastic 4th grade math student when I taught her many years ago, she demonstrates an unwavering commitment to excellence in academics and professional pursuits. Her passion for dental assistance has been evident in the numerous projects and initiatives she has undertaken during her academic journey. She has shown exceptional leadership skills, innovative thinking, and strong work ethic, which all are essential qualities for a successful field in dental science. In recognition of her outstanding achievement, Peggy will be awarded a $1,000 assistance scholarship, which she can use to fund necessary equipment and supplies to support her post-secondary journey. We believe that this award will help each recipient achieve their goals and aspirations in their chosen field. Peggy expressed in her application that she will use the funds for textbooks, lab supplies, and dental instruments that she will need throughout her pre-dentistry coursework at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. I want to congratulate Peggy once again and wish her the very best in her future endeavors. I also want to commend all the applicants of the George Kilgore Initiative Award for their hard work and dedication. They have all shown that the pursuit and excellence in career and technical education is not only worthwhile, but essential for a better future. George would be proud.
Congratulations.
Okay, so Robert Sharp and I think Brandon, are you here? If you guys would come forward.
Good evening. Chairman Smith, members of the board, I want to recognize one of our bus drivers. Mr. Smith, I know you know Mr. Jerry, but if you don't know Mr. Jerry Green, he has been driving for the district for over 50 years, done an amazing job for the district. I even rode his school bus when I was a kid going on field trips from CSA. But Mr. Jerry Green, awesome driver in transportation, and the district appreciates his service.
Chairman Smith, ladies and gentlemen of the board, I thank you for the opportunity to be recognized for my services. I've spent 50 years and some years beside that, beside the wheel of a school bus. In that time, I've met many educators, coaches, band directors that are lifelong friends. And I'll never forget the service that I've had the opportunity to meet students that are now grown, have grandchildren that ride my bus, even some great-grandchildren. So it's been an honor, a privilege. And I thank you, Brandon, Dr. Robertson, and the board for recognizing my services. And also, I'd like to thank my wife for keeping me at it. She's also a contractor for 25 years, and she's kept me in the saddle, and I thank her for that. Thank you, guys.
If I may, a couple things I want to add that needs to be said. Driven over 1 million miles and has never had an accident of any kind. The other thing I want to say, we mentioned a while ago Zach Brown and his unselfish things that he's doing right now for this district. Jerry Green, over the years, has all the ministries that I've worked with, has taken kids all over the country and hadn't charged me and those kids, and so he's another. So, Jerry, I love you, brother.
Mr. Green, who gonna advocate for the contract drivers now?
His wife.
I said, who's gonna be the advocate for the contract drivers now? Because that was you.
I don't know, but I want to thank the board for giving the contractors an opportunity to continue on.
Yes, sir.
And I hope some of the new contractors are able to provide 50 years of service as I did.
They better.
Thank you so much. I love your time.
50 years, that's a long time. Okay, Dr. Freeman, Dr. Rice, if you would come.
Good evening, Chairman Smith and members of the board. It's my distinct honor tonight to honor in Teacher Appreciation Week our teacher librarian. So speaking on behalf of our 80 hardworking librarians here in Hamilton County, we have our Librarian of the Year award. This award this year is labeled the Read 20 Librarian of the Year, sponsored by the Society Daisy Community Library as one of our fantastic community partners. This award goes to librarians who exemplify excellence in our school libraries, making libraries the center of our school, promoting literacy for our students, supporting their curiosity, meeting the needs that exist in lots of different places. This year's recipient is Charles Rayburn. Right here. Charles asked me to say nothing nice about him, but I'm going to have to do so. Charles is finishing up year 27 at East Ridge High School. We had 70 nominations for Librarians of the Year. 17 of them were for Charles. So he is highly regarded among his peers, highly regarded at the school staff. Charles exemplifies both our focus on academic press and in promoting literacy and reading at school, as well as personalization, making the library a safe space for every student in East Ridge High School to come and get the needs they have met. So, Charles, thank you for your service this week.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I just want to say that Mr. Rayburn makes the library a home away from home for all the students at East Ridge High School.
Okay, Mr. Wilkie.
Good evening. Before I start, I want to apologize for my informal dress. We had a house spirit pep rally today, and elementary school in May is a nonstop adventure. So I left my blue wig and my dolphin hat in the car. I figured I would at least do that much for you. So good evening, board members, Dr. Robertson. I'm here tonight for a very special, fun reason, and that is to recognize this year's Principals of the Year honorees for Hamilton County. It's a true privilege to recognize two colleagues who have demonstrated outstanding performance, leadership, and dedication that has truly impacted not only their school communities, but all of Hamilton County. So this year we have two to recognize, and the first one will be for our elementary division. And this year's winner of the Principal of the Year for elementary is Robin Bambry, who is she is the former principal of Hardy Elementary, and she is now the current elementary teacher, director of teaching and learning, and the K-12 director for literacy.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Tiffany Irvin, the Midtown Learning Community Superintendent, and it is my absolute pleasure to just give you a little bit of information about Mrs. Bambry. It's an honor to stand before you to recognize Ms. Bambry, who embodies the very heart of education. Ms. Bambry is not only a leader, but a true champion for every single child, every teacher, and every family in the school community. With a vision rooted in kindness, equity, and excellence, she continues to create school cultures where students feel safe, inspired, and empowered to grow. Mrs. Bambry leads with both courage and compassion, so much compassion. And under Ms. Bambry's leadership, Hardy Elementary soared like the Eagles they are, reaching the academic achievement of a level 5 school. This award is more than a title, it's a reflection of the countless lives that Mrs. Bambry continues to touch every single day. Please join me in celebrating her, our elementary principal of the year, Mrs. Robin Bambry.
I came prepared this time. Last time it was a mess. I'm deeply honored to be recognized as Principal of the Year. This recognition means so much to me, but the true reward has always been the immense joy I've found in leading a school filled with dedicated staff, incredible students, and supportive families. Although my position has changed, I will always be a principal at heart. Thank you for this heartfelt honor.
And it is also my honor to recognize our secondary Principal of the Year this year is Mr. Chris Tillett, Principal of Red Bank High School.
Chairman Smith, ladies and gentlemen of the board, as you can tell, Mr. Tillett does not like the attention. He's been recognized a couple of times, and each time, just with humility, he talks about everybody else, his staff, the teachers, everybody that's there that supports him, and all the other principals in our district. But I do want to say something real quick about Mr. Tillett. When he came up and did the meditation, I thought it was just perfect because I don't have to say anything because you can tell what he's about in that moment. And when he talks about that personalization and connections with not only his staff, his family, his kids, you walk in Red Bank High School and you see it every single day. And not only do you see it filter out, right? People look to the leaders and they look to Mr. Tillett, and then you see others following suit. So can't be more proud of Mr. Tillett. Join me in congratulating him again.
While he's coming through the car wash, I'll say, Principal Tillett, I would, that's what they call it at ESPN, when you go meet everybody and have to shake all the hands. I would clone Principal Tillett if given the chance. He is the model of a principal and is an amazing asset to our community, our district, and Red Bank is a better place for him, and we appreciate it. Thank you. And I would be remiss if I didn't remind everybody that last year Red Bank graduated more children than they have ever in their history.
Okay, takes us down to our disclaimer, and I think we only have one, as I recall.
I have a family member that work here in my book. No. It's not, but I declare that I have a relative who works for the school system and that the board's vote on budget, policies, and etc. may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
Okay. Ask for an approval of our consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. Any items to be pulled? No hands, no lights. Roll call.
Mrs. Black,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Daugherty,
Yes.
Mr. Groan,
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Keen,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Slater,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Chairman Smith.
Yes. Administrative business matters, Dr. Brown?
Chairman, these are basically teachers up for eligible one, and then teachers eligible for tenure reinstatement and two. And I think that you could probably vote on them both at the same time.
Should be separate.
Separate.
Okay. So, so I entertain a motion for teachers eligible for tenure.
So moved?
Second.
No lights, roll call.
Mrs. Black,
Yes.
Mr. Connor, Mr. Daugherty,
Yes.
Mr. Groan,
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Keen,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Slater,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Chairman Smith.
Yes. Teachers eligible for reinstating tenure.
So moved?
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Black,
Yes.
Mr. Connor, Mr. Daugherty,
Yes.
Mr. Groan,
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Keen,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Slater,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Chairman Smith.
Yes. Okay, takes us to entertaining a motion to name a facility. Maybe just so the public will know, just speak to that a little bit. If you would,
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Roberts.
We've been moving towards Future Ready centers. We have a really great example of Future Ready Center at Harrison Bay that's has a waiting list now and is doing exceptionally well. We've made an adjustment to rename Sequoia the Future Ready Center North River. This is the Gateway building that everybody's been calling the Gateway building. And this is just enshrining and honoring two men, John Franklin and Dalton Roberts, for their contributions and asking the board to approve renaming the Gateway building the Franklin Roberts Future Ready Center.
Okay. So, motion to approve?
So
Move
moved?
to approve.
A motion and a second? Okay, any discussion? I have a lot.
I
Ms.
have a
Jones.
question. Does the Franklin family and the Roberts family know that that building is being named after them?
Yes, there was a reception held for, I'm looking over at Mr. McClendon at the county before we rolled this out in any capacity. So we've rolled this out kind of at a couple places, but spoke with the families, had a reception for them, so they are informed and I believe honored. So,
Okay, just asking.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Roll call.
Mrs. Black,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Daugherty,
Yes.
Mr. Groan,
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Keen,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Slater,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Chairman Smith.
Yes. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Jones.
This is a question for the leadership. When we do these renamings, how does other than this, how is the public made aware? The reason why I'm asking that is because I got a call the other day, Ms. Black and I talked about this, where I remember voting for this, for the Howard Theater to be named after Mr. Roland Carter. But these were some prominent Howard alum that were completely unaware. And so I'm just trying to make sure, like, how are they aware? That's why I asked about Mr. Franklin as well. Yeah, I know Mr. Franklin is really near and dear to my heart, one of my mentors. But
Are you talking about when
like when this stuff happens? So whether it's Skillern Elementary or whatever, how does
There's
the
a-
public know, other than just here? Like, do we do some type of media? Like, how are they made known? And or
Public-
that should be up
public-
to us in districts? Or I mean, tell us how to better do that, because I was like, we did Mr. Carter a couple of years ago, and they was like, we didn't even know that was happening, and I was like.
So it should be on the administration to put out statements. We've worked with the county on this. We did a press event up at Future Ready Center at North River. Mr. Slater spoke out, so we did a couple of press events with this one. I think what I'm hearing from you is we need
'Cause I
to
didn't
do
know.
a better job in the future
Just saying.
of putting
Yeah.
through multiple medias, and that's on the administration to do
Okay.
it.
Okay. All right, takes us down to some calendar adjustments. To approve the 25-26 school calendar adjustments.
Move to approve.
Have a motion, need a second?
Second?
No lights, no questions, roll call?
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Daugherty?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Keene?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes. Okay, takes us down to approval of fiscal year 2026 budget for presentation to the Hamilton County Commission.
I think there were two calendars. Sorry.
You gotta do this one.
There's two calendars.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that correction. Thank you. So we do have to approve the 26, 27.
So
Thank you
moved.
for that correction. Then motion to approve.
Motion approved.
Okay?
Second. Jackie, second.
Did you get that? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Daugherty?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Keene?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve fiscal year 2026 budget for presentation to the Hamilton County Commission.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Does that include the amendment? Motion to Yep. approve with the amendment?
Discussion. Yes, ma'am. The amendment is in your board packet. That's why it's redlined.
Okay.
Discussion.
Okay, I have Mr. Connor and then, okay, Mr. Connor?
So we've talked a lot about this budget in a lot of different meetings and a lot of different versions, and heard from a lot of people, including tonight. And the budget that's in front of us is a flat budget, one that doesn't represent everything that we truly need for our schools, for our teachers, for our children. At the end of the day, I've said this, and I'm repeating myself, but it bears repeating, it's our job to make sure that our funding body and our community gets the proper request to our county commissioners. We cannot raise our own funds. We are at the behest of our county commission to fund us and to cover what the state funding doesn't, and to do what's right for our community. They're the leaders of our community, as are we, and as we lead, it's our job to lead and to ask for what's right. So I am going to make a motion. Before I say the motion, I just wanted to explain what I'm making a motion about. Okay. So in front of each board member right now is a copy of an amended copy to represent the current dollar amount in difference between the values-based budget and the flat budget that we have on the agenda. So basically, for the community at large, what the values-based budget is what was presented to us in last Wednesday's open meeting, finance committee meeting / budget discussion. I am going to make a motion. Again, I'm not yet there yet. I promise I'll let you know. But I'm going to make a motion to include this with our budget. So we will, by making that motion, what we will do is we will take a vote on the motion, and then if that motion passes, when we take a vote on the budget itself, this motion will be included with that budget. It will be 1 cent document. Now, it does not, the motion that I'm going to make, does not make this required. It shows the county commission a roadmap to where we need to be. It is, since we have not had the opportunity really to discuss back and forth, whether in an open meeting or even send a budget that maybe they send back with notes, we haven't been able to do that. So we need to make sure that the commission knows what it actually takes to educate the children properly, without cuts, to needed forward-facing positions. To steal a term from the chair of the commission, where the rubber meets the road, we need to make sure that we're not cutting. And so I am proposing this. So again, when I make the motion, what we will be voting on is whether or not to include this in our next vote for the flat budget with this optional a la carte menu, if you will, of how we could fully fund our schools. So, I move to amend the motion of approving the budget to provide that along with that budget, we also submit a separate list, this one, of additional needs to be funded at the county commission's election. Do I have a second?
Second.
So, if I'm not mistaken, Chair, now we would open discussion on the motion, and once discussion on the motion is finished, we can take a vote.
I think we, point of clarification, I think that we discuss the amendment first. So that's where we would be right now, to discuss Ben's amendment. Say your amendment again, if you would.
I move to amend the motion to provide that along with the flat budget, we also submit a separate list of additional needs to be funded at the commission's election.
Okay. Has everybody got that? Okay, got a lot of lights. So, Mr. King.
So for clarity, this is basically saying we're going to send them a balanced budget that they can accept, but that it also has possible future needs that they could also address, or that possibly the city commissioners could help with, or in partnership with all three of us, the school system, the commission, and the city council.
So please, as the chair, do you wish me to answer questions or wait my turn?
Go right ahead.
Okay.
It's your motion.
So this would specifically be for the county commission to choose items on here. Now, making it public absolutely makes the needs list public. And if there was something that they chose not to fund that we felt we needed through this document, then I would welcome someone stepping up. But my hope is that the county commission recognizes the fact that we are now, over just my term on the board, we are now in an $11 million hole of maintenance of effort. So my hope is that they recognize that and realize that we need to have the proper supports in line. Did that answer your question, Gary?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Jones?
So when you say election, that means we can give this to them and they can elect to address it. They could elect to address all of it. They could elect to address one of them or none of them, correct?
Yes, ma'am. This is our needs list. And so my hope would be that the county commission would say, we recognize your need.
I got a whole lot of hope in these people.
I hope and pray.
Ms. Black?
I've also said at previous meetings that I feel like it's our responsibility to advocate for what our students and our staff need, beyond just the goal of presenting a flat budget, but it's our responsibility to advocate for our students and our staff. This list does that. There are different items for the public who don't know. To reinstate the half position, $2,000 bonus for all the employees, in addition to the employees that were left out of the state's bonus, a step longevity increase at 2% across the board raise, the compensation study, complete phase 1, capital maintenance, and 2.5% of employees back at central office staff. That is a list of things that help our school system function at the greatest possible level. For me, I don't feel good about voting for a flat budget that without attaching this as options for our county commission, because I believe our staff and our teachers deserve the pay increase that they have earned. They are professionals. We should pay them that way. We should respect them that way. I do not feel good about sending them a budget without the option of increasing their pay so that they, within their families, can address the same issues that all of us are facing, which is rising cost of everything. So ultimately, that's why I'm supporting the addition of this list.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Black. Mr. Grom?
Well, there's some things in this amendment, if you want to call it that, that I could agree with. But as long as I'm on this school board, I will not vote for a percentage across the board raise. I just will not, because we've had this argument before. I've stated my case before that those at the top get a much higher raise than those at the bottom. And I will always vote for more funding to go to schools and personnel who deal and interact with students every day. So I can't support, 2.5% of employees back to the central office staff. A compensation study, phase 1 for $5 million. We've done this before, recently. So I just can't go with this. I don't think it's necessary. I think our county commissioners have gotten probably just as many emails and phone calls as we have, when in my opinion, the proposed initial cuts to the budget were deliberately meant to cause the greatest havoc in our community, when we never really intended to do those things. So, for example, we can't tout school choice and then destroy transportation to the magnet schools at the same time. The system that we built up to support school choice. Now, maybe that is a discussion for another time as we continue to grow our future-ready availabilities throughout the district to those 4 initially sites, and we developed the Gateway building, which I would really like an update on that, because that's a key thing that the board has been supporting this whole time, and the county commission, along with the mayor. So when anybody brings up a values-based adjustments, the first question I have is what values and whose values? So this board has to decide on this document what our values are. I can't support it.
And Ms. Thomas?
I have a question on here. The compensation study complete phase 1, has it already begun and you're wanting to stop in midpoint, or that's $5 million?
I'm going to ask for a little bit of assistance on that one.
Sure, and Zach, stop me if I'm doing anything wrong. We have already completed the study, so this is not to complete the study. We have recommendations from the study to address things that they found. So addressing the first phase of that would cost $5 million.
Meaning another possible increase for people whose compensation is not where the study said it should be. Okay.
Oh, we have a great one-pager, not made by me, by the way, that actually talks through this. So phase 1 would crosswalk employees to the new salary schedule, implement new structures for the teacher and general employee schedules, transition roles historically placed on teacher schedule to the general employee schedule, like SLPs, school psychs, school administrators, and clearly differentiate between roles requiring certification and classified roles.
I would certainly want to see the details on all of that.
Sure.
For sure.
Jackie, your light is on you.
Yeah, I did have some, so I just want to be clear. So that compensation study, which will give more money, then plus a 2% across the board, plus a step longevity increase, plus a $2,000 one time for employees. All of that, it's still, all of these are mainly raises for employees though, right? I just want to make sure that's what
So
they're
actually,
saying.
let me do this in all seriousness. We are already voting on this 3.5 being in there. So everyone
Right.
go ahead and just mark that one off, because that's already in the whole. We have already voted to include that. So in reality, this number over here should be, put math hat on,
Around
2.8, 2.28, yeah. With 3.5 coming off, yeah, 2.28. So again, what you just asked, Ms. Thomas, is the third item on here is already in what we're voting on, so that can be taken off. And then the second part, and I'm answering you and I'm answering Larry, the 2% across the board is actually a contract that we would be honoring through PECA with the teachers, because we entered into a 3-year contract to agree to their step raises for 3 years. This is, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Omarkill, is this the second year? She's at the party. I'm sorry, she's celebrating our teachers.
Previous board?
The previous board, it wasn't even the board. Forget, Dr. Robertson, would you like to talk about the agreement?
Well, I think that if I can start back, and these values were things that we put in front of the board as we were getting to the end of a flat or a balanced budget, right? So these were things that, if you remember, I said they were things that I thought we should consider. So to be clear there, the step increase is part of PECA, and we had a meeting earlier and put out a joint statement with HCA and between management and teachers that, of course, they would want to see a step increase, but they understand, given the budget year. What we would like to get to a point, and I've said this to many of you, is we feel like we're at a place where we have the right staffing, the right programming. If we get additional funding, what we would want to invest in is the wages of our employees. To Mr. Groen's point, we've always, the percent or the flat, we had this debate last year, we could take that percent, turn it into a flat, and have that discussion, right? It's really just saying what the amount of money would be. And like, if we're talking about things to take off, if it helps the board get to a place of saying, like, we're willing to pass a flat budget and take a list behind it, I'd say let's take off the 2.5% back to central office, if that helps get to a common place.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I interrupt? So Mr. Connor clarified that the 2001 time for all employees should come off, but because Ms. Black seconded, Ms. Black, are you good with that clarification?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Thomas, your light is still
Oh,
on.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry, yeah. It's off.
I'm struggling with all this just a little bit. I mean, I think we're close, but you guys have worked so hard and have done everything, I think, that pretty much that we ask you to do. It looks like. Thank you for all of you guys that have worked so hard to make this happen. I guess where I have a struggle, Mr. Connor, and you and I agree on a lot of things. A lot of things we don't, but a lot of things we do. We're real close here. I'm just worried about the optics. On this document you gave to us, it says an alternative budget. It would seem to me we got to take a budget up there, one budget, not an alternative, a budget. That's a question, Mr. Bennett.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So let me finish my point.
Sure.
I've kind of used the analogy of if you keep up with NCAA basketball and you follow bracketology, and they'll tell you the 64 teams that are in, and then they tell you the next 4 that are in. It would seem to me that the best thing to do is to take our budget that we're about ready to vote on, that y'all worked so hard on, that's balanced, that some difficult choices have had to be made, and some things have been put back in that we asked to be put back in, such as bonus for teachers and our Washington alternative and transportation, and we put a lot of that stuff back in. So it's been tough, back and forth, back and forth. it would just seem to me that we take that budget up there, but at the same time, when you make your presentation like you do every year, that you have the next 4 in, or the next whatever, 6, 7, whatever these are, rather than tying these two together. That's where my struggle is.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's what Mr. Connor is saying. I want to make it clear, like, the formatting and the wording of this, if you remember, I brought this. So saying it's an alternative budget was a week old. I mean, we've got a flat budget in front of you. I think, and I don't want to put words, I'll turn it over to Mr. Connor, but I think what he's saying is exactly what you're saying, but use these bullet points and we can put it in another document and call it first 4 in, whatever. Sorry, Mr. Connor, I didn't mean to speak for you.
No, sometimes you get it right. So let me be really clear. It needs to be sent with the budget is what I'm asking. And I want to make sure that I'm saying this correctly. This needs to be sent with the budget so that it is options for the county commission that they can say, I want to put this in. Since we're talking about phrasing, they could say, we also value the reinstatement of these half positions at every school. So we're going to put that on there. But if we don't add this list of needs, and we talked a little bit about phrasing, I'm big on phrasing. If we don't add this list of needs to it, then there's no option for them. They just say, we don't, because we're passing a budget, it is allowed to have options as a part of it. I'm asking that we pass Mr. Doherty's flat budget and that we send this list of needs that is essentially an a la carte menu, but hopefully one that they share some of the same values with us and choose to put some of these in. Your first 4 in, if you will. So that is what I'm asking. I welcome you to mark off budget if you want to, but it would be sent with our budget. So again, let me state it one more time and try to be as plain as possible. We will pass a budget following the law and sending a budget along, but we will send them this list of needs items that they can choose, again, as written in the motion. If they elect to pass, they may pass them. So I feel like I might have used 1,000 words where you used 100, but I'm saying the same thing you are. I'm really good at using 1,000 words where 10 will do.
You hadn't convinced me yet.
Okay.
I'm still listening.
So
It just seems to me, and I've watched you do it, you and your predecessor, every year I've watched you do it. You go up there and you make your presentation, and then you talk about other needs.
Yeah. So if I may try to say, just from the context of presenting it to the county commission, what I hear is that we have you can call it flat, you can call it balanced. We've got a proposal in front of you right now that's flat or balanced, right? That gets approved. I take that to the county commission and present it, but just as you said, after I present the flat budget, there's another slide that says, but here are also some needs that are not in this budget that the board recognizes as needs. It's not necessarily, it's almost an addendum to a budget, but the flat budget gets passed, that's what gets presented. And then just as you said, the first 4 in, it gives the county commission that if they say, hey, we want to contribute to the $2,000 bonus, then they can do it.
We're not disagreeing, except that I guess I don't understand why that needs to be a part of the original motion to approve the budget. I guess that's where my struggle.
I conferred with legal, and if it's a part of the same thing, then it makes it options they can immediately choose instead of items that then the county commission would have to go and create a new resolution to then fund this. And I'll come full circle. I'll come all the way back. Right now, we're talking about $22.8 million, give or take a penny or two. We would be talking about $11 million if the maintenance of effort was there over the past 2 years. And we're not really having much of this conversation. And that's something I've been saying a lot, is that we do need to have a conversation to figure out the right funding, and we need to figure out a percentage-based instead of a dollar-based. But right now, we need to send this, in my opinion, and has to be attached so that they have the option to add these things in more easily. And I've, again, phrasing, this is a roadmap for county commission so that they can get to where they need to go. And I'll say this out loud too. We don't have that meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 19th, we'll be presenting if we pass the budget tonight, we'll be presenting in front of the county commission on the 19th. I would welcome and be ecstatic to have a joint conversation with the commission between now and the 19th to talk about my reasons, our reasons for why we want the things in our budget. Oh my gosh, I would love that. And hopefully that would make it so that it would be easier for them to pass what we need. It may fall to being the flat budget that is all they consider we need after that meeting. But again, we don't know yet. It's our job to send what we need to run the schools. We're sending a flat budget because of this deficit, but we need to show them what we need. We have to. It's our job. We were elected to tell the county commission what we truly need. And this document attached to the budget shows them what we need. And in all honesty, I'd rather pass the budget with this as the budget. But I'm making a concession here to try to do what's best and showcase what our schools need.
Ben Daugherty?
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Connor, you know I appreciate and respect your position, and we all fundamentally agree that there's difficult decisions being made, and you know these suggestions are absolutely of value. I think it's naive of us to consider that the county commission is not aware of these needs. I mean, they're listening. I mean, the conversations I've had with multiple county commissioners, you know, there's one budget, it's a balanced budget, and that's where I'm a little hung up on is although these are important, I agree with them, we have in my opinion, I know we disagree on this piece, we have a fiduciary responsibility to deliver a balanced budget. So, well, okay. But that's just where I'm at. So I appreciate, I agree with the sentiment, but in terms of our responsibility to county commission, that's where I'm a little tied up on it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm not sure if there's another light or if I could respond. You asked me.
I've got several.
Okay, then I'll make notes.
I'll come back to you, okay? All right, Ms. Jones?
So Scott,
Yes, ma'am.
for public education, what is our fiduciary responsibility when it relates to budget? Because I want to make sure that, because it's not to bring a balanced budget, it's to bring the budget it's not a balanced budget. That's not in the term, right? Unless I've just been crazy for the last 10 years.
Well, okay, so you do have to account for incoming revenue.
Right.
So you have to make you have to make a proposal that allows for incoming revenue. So we use the word fiduciary. That's where I got hung up. You're asking a policy question. It gets back to something that Mr. Connor said for months. What sort of budget should the board submit to the commission? By law, you have to account for revenues that are coming in, and so if you ask for X, you have to match it with revenue from a certain source.
Right, but I want to make sure that people understand, because I mean, right now, there's so many truths out here that I want to make sure people understand. Okay. Second to that, my question is, I guess my statement is, to my chair right here, Mr. Smith, when you were talking about your not sure about the document being added with the budget. When I submitted my budget for my department at the city, I submitted appendices, supplemental information for them to review to see what I needed. I submitted a balanced budget, because we were asked a flat line, but I also submitted what my staff asked me for, which was above the flat line, because we know that budgets go through several iterations, and when they go through several iterations, depending on what the priority is of the mayor, I'm speaking from city government, but based off the priority of the mayor, the council, the citizens, as they're going through iterations, things become priority based on strategic plans, based on needs, so forth and so on. And so all of that information I wanted them to have, so that if some money was freed from somewhere else and something that I had put in place was something that was priority, then there it was, and they'd have to come back and ask you for it. Now, whether they did something with it or not, but I had it for them, so that in the event when they took it to council, they had everything they needed to support the ask. And so I wanted to share that because I think, for me, the only way I'm gonna vote for a budget tonight is if this goes with it. Because I feel like they know, Mr. Daughtery, you're right, they know that the 577, they know that's what is balanced, flat, whatever you wanna call it. But what they need to know is 603 is what we need. And I think if we never show them that, then they're always gonna say, well, you didn't tell us we needed that. And I've lived long enough to know that I'm not crazy, and I can assume people are listening and hearing. But in this day and time, I am no longer in the business of making assumptions, because I am no longer in the business of becoming the ass, as my grandmama would say. Because when you assume, you make yourself, and excuse my language to all the people in the public with children listening and so forth and so on, even my own child somewhere. But that's just a southern colloquialism and everybody's heard it. I don't want to assume that the District 5 commissioner, because I'm gonna speak for District 5, knows that. I don't wanna assume that. I don't wanna assume that any of these commissioners know that. I don't wanna assume that you all know that. I want to be sure that you're informed and educated on what the need is. And then from there, you make your decision and they make their decision. But I don't want to assume that, because we could allow them to assume, and their priority may be different from what our leadership's priority is or what our schools, communities need. So I'm just gonna say that I said that last week, I'm not voting for a budget that doesn't show them what we need.
Ms. Black.
A couple things. If we're getting hung up on this thing saying budget, we could change it to values-based investment opportunities, so that our county commission can choose to invest in education, because that is also an option that they've always had. But if I were them and I was voting on extra funding, I would want to know what it's being spent on and how much you need. Should I choose to invest? Because that's always an option that they have. They can choose to prioritize invest in education. I go to community meetings all the time. I get asked all the time, when do we get to vote? I prioritize education, do whatever you need to do. I want to fund public schools. So this is an option for them. And if it's voted on by the body that is sending the budget, it has, in my opinion, more weight than an extra slide presented by Dr. Robertson. Not to take away from your authority.
But he don't get a vote.
But you don't, like, we're the ones that are supposed to approve the budget. So if we're asking for extra, we need to vote on what we're asking for. And if there are amendments to this list for folks that you want, if you want to remove something from this list, let's have that conversation. And this list is like, we can adjust this just like we can adjust our budget, but let's have the conversation of sending a budget with options for investment in public education that are a priority for us in this school system that we have approved. Because if not, if they don't really know what we're asking for or what that money is going to be spent on, it's a lot easier to say no than if we tell them how it's going to be used. That gives them a lot more options as a voting body, because they're the funding body for the entire county. They have to weigh, and if, like Ms. Jones said, if they're weighing priorities, if they have to weigh and say, like, oh, well, the priorities, instead of it just being like an extra dollar amount to schools, they can say, oh, well, we think, raises for teachers and staff are more important than this other item in another piece of our budget. We had rather put the money over here. It's easier for them if they have this to look at. So if we want to discuss, if folks want to take something off, if there's something on here that you don't like before we send it, that's a discussion that we can have, and we can amend this list as well. But ultimately, You don't get what you don't ask for. And I want all of our elected representatives at the county level to have the information that they need and the option to invest in education like we're asking them to do.
Okay, Ms. Schaefer?
We are proposing or passing a budget that is a values-based budget. We are saying as a board what our priorities are. If we wanted to make one of these on this list our priority, then we should do that in our budget. We shouldn't be asking the commission to tell us what our priority is. We shouldn't be putting them in that position. So if we want to add back the half position in every school, then we should have taken the deduction somewhere else out of our own budget. We have a large budget. We have more money than we did 2 years ago, and about the same amount of students. We have millions, 577 million. So if we want to prioritize these things, then we need to do it, not put that on the commission. So I can't support this for that reason.
Steve Slater?
I agree with Joe. First of all, we voted for Dr. Robertson to bring us a balanced budget, and he did. Attaching anything to it is not what we asked for. Now, if we want to go in front of the commission and just say something like, by the way, here's a wish list that we would love to have, okay. But I don't think we can attach this to a balanced budget. That's not what we voted for him to bring us.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes, I think, we've been going back and forth on the wording of all of this. We did ask Dr. Robertson to bring us a balanced budget, and he brought that. However, I think the attorney indicated that we can't attach this to the budget. This is just an addition form that we're sending. And if we are saying to the county, I don't think it's anything wrong with saying to the county commission, here is the balanced budget that Dr. Robertson brought us. However, we would love for you to consider our true needs, and this is what we thought, this is what they truly are, and present it to them as not necessarily attached to the budget, but kind of like what all of us are saying, a wish list. And maybe it's the wording that we're trying to do, but to just put it in layman terms for me, and what I think I'm hearing is that we're presenting you this balanced budget. However, we love for you to consider what we truly need. We balanced it because he balanced it because it was a request, but that's truly not the need of the Hamilton County school system. That's how I'm looking at what this form says, and I think maybe it can, I don't know, I guess be reworded or however it needs to be said, but that's all we're asking. Am I clear on that? Just in layman's terms, because we keep going back and forth. I'm just layman's terms. Is that what we're wanting to do?
That's what your motion does.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Isn't that correct?
It does, and, sorry, am I next?
Go ahead.
I'll go straight into it then. Okay.
Mr. Connor, Mr. Chairman, if I could just interject to be sure that, because maybe I have the motion wrong, but I'm going to tell you what we've got. So I have a motion from Mr. Connor, seconded by Ms. Black, to amend the motion approving the budget, to submit along with that budget a separate list of additional needs to be funded at the commission's election. My understanding is that the list comes from this document, but we're not submitting this document. It's just a list. If I got that right.
The document could be, I have listed what we need
Okay.
from our previous one.
Okay,
So
I've
essentially, yes.
I've got a list, but it's not, okay.
And that speaks to the next item I was going to say. I'm hearing a lot of people talk about how Justin should go and Dr. Robertson should stand there and talk about what it is, but what we want. But we're assuming, and assumptions are not facts. We actually have to take a vote on it because we, the royal we, this board, can't assume that he knows what we want until we have put it in the record and voted on it. So as a board, he's our employee, but he's not our voice. Our vote is our voice. So we have to vote on it in order for him to know what to take. So I believe that is dead correct, Mr. Bennett? Okay. And if we don't vote on something, then technically he can't actually take anything because he's assuming. And we can't do that.
So, I'll get right to you. Kind of play this out for me just a second.
Yeah. So,
Wait a minute.
sorry.
Wait a minute. So, for a minute, let's say that this motion that Mr. Connor has made fails. And so we go back and we vote on the original budget, and that passes. Are we, at that point, do we have to have some type of vote to say to him, when he does his presentation to the commission, that he makes it very clear to the commission, we'd like to have an additional 23 million, and here's what we'd like to do?
Yes, sir, because without the board speaking to the appropriation request, then the commission doesn't have anything to attach the appropriation to. Now, alternatively, I suppose what could happen is if Dr. Robertson were to say, here's some other things that we might be able to do, the commission could come back to us and say, well, send us that list. But the commission cannot appropriate funds in a vacuum. It has to be attached to a request from us.
So it would just eliminate a back and forth, which is time, and it would prevent being, like, the budget being pushed up against the end of June, like it has the last couple of years. They would be able to take action earlier.
And to be clear about that, so as long as we have an operations budget that is approved, then we are in compliance with the law. So for instance, if the board at some point down the road said, we want to put capital maintenance back, and the commission agreed to fund that, that is not as time sensitive, obviously, as the rest of the operations budget. But on the other hand, if you were looking at some of these other, well, I'm just gonna stop talking.
Okay, let me go to Gary, and then Felice, I'll come to you.
Well, after listening to everything, I almost wonder if it wouldn't be more productive to separate the two and vote on the balanced budget first and then vote on the wish list, needs list, value-based list second.
It's not attached. Scott just said it won't be attached to an appropriation, so they can't.
It can if you then make an amendment to attach it after the budget is balanced, after that's voted on.
If I could reword what you said, Mr. King. So I think you're moving to separate the two items, to the budget and then the list. And that would require the board a second, and then the board to vote on that, in which case it's now separate. You vote on the budget, and you come back to the list. To the point that I made earlier, at some point in time, if you want the commission to consider this list, the board does have to vote to approve it. That's for certain.
But my question is, if we went back to the original agenda and voted on a balanced budget, and then Mr. Connor made a
Well, if the board wanted to separate this, all it takes is a motion, a second, and a majority, and then the amendment is set aside over here. You go back to the main motion. It succeeds or fails, and if it succeeds, then you come to this list of additional priorities, right? And so then the board votes on this, okay?
I see what you're saying. Yes.
We're voting just to send that additionally.
You'll be voting to sever the two issues.
I move to sever the two issues.
Second.
Are we in the middle of them? What's happening?
It's setting this one aside
And
to
I
vote
need
on
to
it
say
after.
the keys too.
Okay, so the board is clear. Just let me restate the motion. Ms. Schaefer has made a motion, seconded by Mr. Slater, to separate Mr. Connor's amendment and to consider it separately from the main motion. And so if the board votes to separate these, Then we would go back to the main motion, and then we would take up Mr. Connor's motion separately, okay? But it would take a majority of the board to separate it out.
Okay, so the motion that's on the floor now is to separate, and it's been duly seconded. So, discussion about that. Yeah, okay, please, I'll
Well-
recognize you first.
Well, I do. Well, I just want to say, you know, we didn't really have discussion, I don't believe, about what to put on this list as a board maybe, because I would have added exceptional education on here as a wish list, and it's not on here. And I know coach races have been, you know, talked about before, and I'm sure other things. I almost feel like we need to wait till the next finance committee and discuss as a board what we actually want on our wish list as a board.
That has to be, it's on there. It is on there, XED.
Well, XED's in the balanced budget.
It's not a balance, not on the
Sorry, it's,
additional funds for exceptional education.
No, but I think your point is, like, if you have this conversation, you wanted to say we needed $1 million additional dollars to add to what we're already investing in XED.
Right, so the
Yeah.
extra funds, other things, coach raises.
Which I
Okay,
haven't said much about.
You're
She
lit
didn't
up?
tell me to
Yes.
say that.
Okay,
Did not.
go
Nor
ahead.
him.
discussing the next motion. So, basically, to be completely clear, in order to gain my support for the budget at all, I need to know that this is attached. So waiting to vote on this means I won't vote for the budget, because there's no guarantee. As Ms. Thurman used to put it, we can make the front door the back door, or however she used to say it, and I don't know what will happen in the next vote. So unless these are tied together, it doesn't have my support, because this is that important.
Go ahead, Ms. Thomas.
Even if it's going to the commissioners, but just not attached to the board, it has to be attached, even though you all are, from what I hear you say, it's separate anyway, right? Because all we're required to do is to,
Well, yes, ma'am, but what Mr. Connor can speak for himself, but I understand, he's saying he's connecting the two issues because he wants these items to be funded. So it's attached in his motion, but the list is not attached to the budget.
oh,
Does it make sense? His motion's connecting the two, but they would go to the commission separately. Right?
To answer, yes, this would be an addendum to our budget that is possible. But to restate, as I was asked to, I will not support the budget, the flat budget, unless I know that this optional thing is there. I won't, because that's not the right thing to do. That's not why the people that put me here through their votes want the right thing done, and that's not the right thing.
Okay, so I have no more lights. So we're ready for a roll call. Make sure that everybody understands what we're voting on.
We're voting on Ms. Schaefer's motion, seconded by Mr. Slater, to separate Mr. Connor's proposed amendment from the main motion and to take up his amendment separately after the main motion.
Okay. Has everybody got that? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Black?
No.
Mr. Connor?
No.
Mr. Daugherty?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
no.
Mr. Keen?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes.
Motion carries.
So now we go back to our original
Yes.
motion,
And then we'll take up Mr. Connor's.
and then we take up Mr. Connor. So our original motion that was motioned and duly seconded was approval of fiscal year 2026 budget for presentation to the Hamilton County Commission.
As is, right?
Right, right,
With the amendment the administration gave.
yeah, the one we have tonight. Okay,
not voting on Ben?
I have no
Wait,
lights, so
They're
roll
voting
call.
on Mr. Con.
No.
Main
No,
motion first,
no,
Okay.
we
and then
do
vote
that, and then we go, and then we're gonna go back.
Hold on, actually, point of procedure.
Yes, sir.
Since my motion was second, it was separated, but technically, since the motion was done inside, we could vote on the motion and then vote on the budget. Am I correct?
That's what I thought we were doing.
The reason, well, that's why, what I said right after you spoke was that I thought maybe it needed to be after the budget vote, and if it does, then I'm not voting for this budget, but.
So a motion to sever takes the subordinate motion, dusting off something, takes the subordinate motion and severs it and sets it aside, and so it becomes a separate item of business, okay? So the main we go back to the main motion, the previously moved main motion. He's double checking me, but I think I'm right.
I am. Okay, so there's a lot of words in here, so give me just a second, but. Substitute motion is to amend, less strictly, it may be more desirable to apply a similar process to something already adopted in bylaws. That's the amend is probably the more language.
Well, while you're looking, Mr. Connor, I've got a couple of lights, so, Ms. Hayden?
Well, I want a discussion about the budget itself is what I'm waiting on.
Okay.
So, don't let it out.
The original budget?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, while he's looking for, if you want to go ahead and answer that question, now go ahead.
Okay, well, I had several things I wanted to mention about the budget, okay.
I don't think
First thing, I know that, there was talk about community superintendents and all, and I just personally want to give a shout out to the community superintendents because I've heard from quite a few people about what a wonderful job you all are doing and how valuable it is and how commonsensical I think it is to have the communities in that line of chain of command or responsibility. So the second thing I just want to say, it's really too late, I think, for the budget discussions because just this past week I've heard from multiple people about student success planning that is being required, of our staff and our schools, and it's creating a lot of time. And I was going to ask Shannon to speak on it, but I'm almost thinking that time-wise maybe we should wait to the next meeting.
Sure, we can have something together for the next meeting. That's probably
okay, and
wise.
that's all I'll say, but I just want to let the public know that they've been heard and that we will discuss it, but it is too late for budget.
That's great.
Okay, and the last thing I want to mention is about exceptional ed. You all have given us concessions, and I appreciate that. What we really wanted, the community, and lots of public response, and we heard it tonight. What we really wanted was what we had before and what was working well. And so I have to say that I am disappointed it's not back to what we had in the beginning. And I'm disappointed I didn't have more support from the administration and the board on this. But concessions have been made. And so we will just work on this continuing year.
Yes, ma'am.
And maybe I would like for people to continue to reach out to me, and so we can work on issues as they arise. And I know you put 500 plus in the budget, 500,000 to address needs as they arise in exceptional education. So I appreciate some of what you did to put back in for exceptional education. And I think time-wise, I'll just keep it there.
Mr. Chairman, may I interrupt for just a
You
second?
may.
I stand corrected. I was going through my parliamentary procedure. Mr. Connor's motion takes priority over the main budget because it was separated out. So
Okay.
it goes to the top.
Okay, so we need to vote now on
his list. Well, to be clear, he wanted to submit a separate list along with the budget. So the board voted to sever the two issues.
Okay.
His issue takes priority, and so now the board is debating whether to send a separate list. Let me restate that.
Not tied to the budget.
Mr. Bennett, can I just talk in layman's terms and see if this makes sense? I think that we're actually saying the same thing. It's just the order. Like, if we were to vote on the budget first and then vote on a separate item to bring a list, all we're doing is voting on the list first and then the budget. The reason Mr. Connor wants to do this is because for him to support the budget, he wants support from the board to bring a separate list. That separate list is not attached to the budget. It's not part of the balanced budget. It is a flat budget that we will be approving, that if this goes, will be a separate list that then allows the county commission that if they come alongside us and say, we want to contribute to that $2,000, it doesn't have to come back to this body to get approved.
That's correct.
I'm good with that, but I guess my only concern is gonna be, is everybody good with this list? Or is there some things you wanna add to it or delete from it, or?
I'm not happy with the list as it is right now. That's why I think we need maybe a separate meeting or during finance or some other meeting to discuss what's on the list, because extra funds for exceptional education are not on there.
So-
Coaches raises, I mean, we're asking for everything that we might want that we don't have, and those are things, and I'm sure other people can think of other things that we, would like to have, but don't have in the budget.
So are you asking to add, if exceptional education was cut, to add that back onto this list? What are you asking? Oh, I'm sorry.
Please. What are you asking?
Well, I'm not really asking anything. I'm just saying I'm not happy with this list, and I don't think we have time right now to devise a list that we all agree on.
Mr. Daughtry?
I agree with Felice. I mean, there's probably a lot of things that other board members collectively would probably want to add in there. Mr. Slater, I know the coach's stipend is obviously important to you, and I think this is probably a more complicated scenario than maybe originally was surmised, and albeit important, but I just don't know if we're going to solve it here tonight. So I'd like to make a motion to table and reconvene on this conversation at a later date.
Second.
So we're gonna table the budget?
So what are
Tabling
we
the budget.
No, you meant
Mr.
table
Connor's
your amendment.
motion.
You're tabling your amendment, but you could table the budget. I mean, you don't
Correct.
have to have a
We're not
vote.
tabling the budget.
So he's making a motion to table
To table Mr. Connor's
Mr.
motion.
Connor's motion.
Correct. And I got Mr. Doherty as the move it, Felice the second.
Okay. So, I got a couple of lights. You want to speak to that, Mr. Connor?
Sure. So, we've already all mentioned that time is of the essence, and we also don't have another meeting where we will vote on anything before we get to present this budget to the schools. I'm sorry that you guys don't completely agree with the list, but as was mentioned also, in the next meeting, we can absolutely add to it or add other things we'd like to wish for. I went off of what had been presented to us and what got us to the most needs-based in that presentation. And so much so has it been considered needs-based that one of the items on my list has already been put into the flat budget somehow. We added $3 million to the flat budget and it's still flat. So I'm asking that we approve this list to send so that we have a roadmap for the county commission, so that we have sent something along with this flat budget that shows, hey, we want everyone to be cognitive that we don't think we can do the job that the children deserve with the flat budget. These are the items that we need. This is the moment to do that because we're passing a budget. I have given us a list of things that are values-based that we need, that we are considering to be implement and added wonderfulness to our children's lives. Sorry for getting passionate and mixing words up, but we owe it to the constituents and the students to give the commission a roadmap to where we need to be.
Mr. King?
I'm just asking for a point of clarification, I guess. So when we say we're tabling it, are we tabling the motion but still voting on the budget? Or are we tabling it to come back at a later date to vote on it?
The former.
So if this motion to table, Ben's motion, passes, we go back to the original motion, and that was to approve the 26 budget.
Correct.
So we wouldn't present what we're saying we need at all if we table it though, because that means we're not gonna present that extra to them at all. I understood that we're gonna separate, but we're still, you're asking me to not send the list at all, right? You're gonna table the list that we currently have and not send anything, right? That's what you're asking, that we table the list.
What I'm,
Ben.
which
Ben, you made the
Yes,
motion.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. What I'm suggesting is maybe we find some time next week, early next week, prior to the county.
Graduation, honey, and I'm not coming to no more meetings. I'm doing graduation meetings. You already taken all out. I'm gonna have to take PTO.
Okay.
Just table the budget. You could table it and vote in June.
Ms.
You don't
Black?
have to vote now.
The way I understand it is, based on what you've said, if the county commission wanted to fund raises or give us extra money to spend, it has to be attached to something. And if we don't send a list, then it removes the opportunity for them to give us additional funds above the revenue neutral budget.
Yes, ma'am. Now, subject to the understanding that we can always talk. So,
Sure.
So, whenever we have the joint meeting, or if at the commission meeting, the commission, I'm looking over at Mr. McClendon over there, if they indicate that they are of a mind to give more money, then obviously the board can come back and can prioritize, and so you'll know that an appropriation would be granted. But strictly speaking, Ms. Black, you're right. It postpones the actual appropriation. Yes, ma'am.
But if we send them the revenue neutral budget without asking for anything else, and they approve it, isn't it done?
Well, yes, ma'am, but the board can always ask for a budget amendment. So you have to have an operations budget to start the fiscal year. But let's suppose that the finance committee meets and works through and decides, you know what, we've thought about this, we really do need to add back that $1 million in capital maintenance. We've thought about this, we really need to do that step increase. There's nothing that precludes the board from making an additional appropriation request. It would be outside the regular budget, obviously, but you always have the authority to take budget amendments. Usually we're taking amendments to true things up.
But it would also come after they've voted on the entire county
Yes, ma'am.
budget. So
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
removed the opportunity from them to prioritize one of these items on the list over something else in another department's budget.
Operationally, that's a valid point, that there's a window of time where they can work things into the entire county budget. That's a valid point, ma'am.
Okay. Just so we are all clear.
Mr. Conger, are you?
So what are we voting on?
So the motion on the floor right now is to table this list.
Your list.
So to answer Mr. Doherty's question about could we meet next week to talk, that's fine, we can talk. We still can't tell Dr. Robertson to take anything because we can only vote in an action item meeting. We get one of those a month unless we call a special meeting.
Correct.
You can do that.
We can do that.
Which we would have to call a special action item meeting
Right.
during graduation to do that. when we have a list in front of us. The second thing is, I've already referenced her once, but we can do anything we want via vote, including add in stipends for the coaches, if that's really part of what we want to make our true values that we want to send to them. If we're just looking for a list of everything that we absolutely want, that list could be 10 pages. I was trying to get to the nitty-gritty of what we need, and again, I'll repeat, so much so that one of the items that I already had listed has been added to our budget. So clearly, these weren't just, and that's not even it, sorry, clearly these weren't just things that I was on a whim going, that'd be great. I thought through them, they were presented to us, they are items that the team has thought would be good. But I'll finish with saying, we are waffling over this when we could send a message that we are giving you a flat budget, but the needs of the schools remain, and we need to show them the needs. Ms. Black has mentioned it a couple times. Ms. Jones has said it a couple times. We need to give them the roadmap to what we need, not want, need, to better service our children. And that's where we're at.
Okay, Mr. Daugherty.
Yeah. Mr. Connor, to that I would say, when the county commission starts really deep diving in their budget, once they've got everything on the table, if somehow, some way, which would be amazing, they come up and say, hey, we've got X amount of extra money, we didn't see it, we were able to do X, Y, Z, we're going to be notified, and we have the ability to call that special session meeting, and then we can really discuss it. Because at this point, we don't know what's possible. We don't know if it's $6 million extra, 22, we don't know if it's flat like we are. So that's we have the ability to call that and discuss it and have a better discussion outside of this larger vote on the budget to get it moving through.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is,
Motion
sure I
to table
To table the
Okay.
Mr. Connor's list.
duly seconded, no more lights, roll call.
Mrs. Black,
No.
Mr. Connor,
Absolutely not.
Mr. Daugherty,
Yes.
Mr. Groan,
Yes.
Ms. Haddon,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
No.
Mr. Keene,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Slater,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
No.
Chairman Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So now we go back to our original motion, which is to approve the fiscal year 2026 budget. And it was duly motioned and seconded, as I recall. No lights, roll call.
Mrs. Black,
No.
Mr. Connor,
No, I'm going to stand up. We need to put the right budget in front of our commission. I will not stop saying that.
Mr. Daugherty,
Yes.
Mr. Groan,
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Absolutely not.
Mr. Keene,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Slater,
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas,
Yes.
Chairman Smith,
Yes.
8-3, motion carries.
Okay, takes us down to board matters. Those are all first reads there, I believe, so there's nothing to vote on. Of course, we scratched the proposed policy revision. So it takes us down to consideration of resolution, and I'll let, or ask if, Mr. Connor, if you would speak to this for us.
This is a resolution for us to accept the $2,000 bribe that was added into the voucher bill. So this is the first part of the monies that was set up to help them pass the voucher bill. We did not decide who would get this funds. It took us 3 months for them to even tell us who would get it. We now have that list. It's how we were able to delineate the $3 million that you guys liked off my list to put into our budget. So this resolution is basically just minutia. We are by resolving to this resolution, we are saying to the state that we accept the funds for the $2,000 for the people they've identified. This has nothing to do with our budget that was just passed that pays the other teachers. So in theory, if we don't accept this resolution, the first round of teachers wouldn't get that money We accepted it for all the other, for clericals and everything else. So if we don't approve this resolution, we shot ourselves in the foot.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Got a couple of lights. These may be old lights.
No.
Okay, Mr. King?
All right, so I'd like to thank Mr. Connor for understanding this, because the public might not realize it, but there will be districts around the state of Tennessee that don't understand the legal jargon and will not act by presenting a resolution, and their teachers will lose that $2,000. We had to legally present a resolution to be able to accept that money for the teachers, so thank you.
No more lights, roll call.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Keen?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes. Okay, takes us down to events and announcements. I believe everybody has a calendar of, you want to tell us what all was in here, Miss Shirley?
Just the graduation and your parking passes.
Okay.
Chair,
Yes.
forgive me. I do need to, point of order, I need to call back to my,
Okay. All right. All right, anything else?
My birthday is Friday, May 16th.
happy 21st. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, to present my presentation is basically to say that obviously everything's rolling up along with this resolution that we just passed, and things are being signed. There were things just signed this week. In the next month and a half, I'll have different meetings with the different bodies, class, TSBA, for their understandings and implementations of laws. So I will hold my meeting after all of those very smart people have shared their opinion with me about the way these will affect us. The reason I moved my update to now is it needs to be officially in the minutes. I spoke with Mr. Bennett. TSBA has called for all of the resolutions to be submitted to TSBA for consideration in the fall meeting. I'm sorry, not the fall meeting, in the statewide meeting. And this is notification to the board that our resolution passed in last month's meeting will be one of those resolutions sent forward. The resolution we passed this evening has no bearing, as it is over starting on July 1st, or June 1st, forgive me. So only the resolution we passed last week will be sent to TSBA. Anyone have any comments? Seeing no comments, thank you for letting me put that in the minutes.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope, goodbye.
We stand adjourned.
You want this folder back, right?